We have lots to discuss here in today's video, including plenty of NHL trade talk around teams like the Montreal Canadiens, the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Florida Panthers. Speaking of the Panthers, they get devastating news today on Captain Alexander Barkov, who's going to miss significant time. Plus, the Maple Leafs have brought back a former friend in James Reimer on a PTO. We'll discuss a bunch of news from the NHL waiver wire and a whole lot more, including some injuries and key updates on guys like Connor McDavid and Kirill Kaprizov's contract extensions. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we got lots to discuss here in today's video. We'll kick things off first with the news we got today from the NHL waiver wire. Lots of NHL waivers again here today. The surprising news is yesterday, everybody cleared. So that includes Utah goaltender Connor Ingram, who's got 1 year left under $2 million. Decent goalie, missed a lot of time last year being in the player assistance program. I thought for sure with the number of teams out there that have some question marks in goal that he would get picked up, but he did not. So he will be reassigned to Utah's American Hockey League team. I suppose if he plays well there, he could maybe be dealt later. I also wonder if him clearing waivers could even possibly increase the likelihood of a trade. Another team might be more willing to pick him up knowing that he's cleared waivers, because until he plays games or has been on the roster for so many days, like, you can still be traded and be reassigned immediately to the minors and then have them as like a good experience number 3 in their system or something along those lines. So we'll see what the future holds for Connor Ingram. I certainly hope he gets another crack at the NHL here in the near future, but himself, along with everybody else that was on waivers yesterday, including one player from Philly, and the 5 Senators players were all cleared. Now, today on waivers, we got a bunch more as well, including 4 guys from the New York Islanders. They've put through Cole McWard, Gavin Mitchell, Julian Gauthier, and Liam Foudy, all placed on waivers here today to be reassigned to their AHL club. The Columbus Blue Jackets had goaltender Ivan Fedotov on waivers. Of course, he was recently acquired from the Flyers. I suspect he's probably not getting picked up because of the contract. So we'll see what that means for him. Utah has defenseman Kevin Connaughton on waivers. The Capitals have a couple, including Callie Rosen and New Brunswick's own Spencer Spallman. Yes, Spencer Spallman's one of the local products here from my home province in New Brunswick that's been pretty good pro hockey player. Mostly played at the American Hockey League level, but he and his family have very much big part of the local hockey scene here where I am from in Fredericton. We have a big news in Toronto. They've brought back former goalie James Reimer. Reimer returns to the Maple Leafs on a PTO, so we'll see how things go for the remainder of a training camp, but certainly a possibility he could get signed to a 1-year contract with the Leafs. Obviously, the absence of Joseph Woll is concerning. The fact that they're bringing in another experienced goalie like Reimer makes me think they're expecting Woll to be out for an extended time. Now, of course, we don't know what's going on with Joseph Woll. It's a leave of absence. It's a personal thing. We're not going to get details. We don't really need to know. In some of those situations, it's difficult for them to pinpoint a period of time. All we know is it's an indefinite leave. So obviously they know a little bit more about what's going on, and I suspect this move kind of gives us an indication that it could be a while. So I would suspect Reimer will get an opportunity to play here a little bit in the preseason, see how he looks, and won't be shocked if they end up signing him to a short, cheap contract. We had news out of Vancouver here today as well. Nothing too big regarding the team, but around their broadcast team, and it affects a recently retired NHL player, a local product, now former NHL defenseman Tyson Barrie. Is going to be welcomed into the Canuck family. He will be getting into the broadcasting world now that he's retired, and will be joining their regional home broadcast on Sportsnet. So look for Tyson Barrie, especially if you're a Canuck fan, you watch their regional games on Sportsnet. You'll see him as part of the broadcast, and he enters the next chapter of his hockey career. The San Jose Sharks today also revealed some new jerseys. Like I said, this has been a trend. A lot of teams are putting these out here lately. Some of them are just alternate. Some of them have meaning or history behind them. This is a 35th anniversary jersey. They're calling it like a heritage jersey because it's a throwback basically to the early Shark days. I like these shirts a lot, to be honest. San Jose, to me, I like the teal. I just like the color scheme. I've liked a lot of their jerseys over the years, but this one is pretty good. It's certainly better than some of the other ones we've seen lately. I know I wasn't a huge fan of the Oilers one that came out or some of the other ones that we've seen, but I do like the Sharks throwback heritage jerseys here for the 35th anniversary. They're only going to wear them a handful of times, but Still pretty good shirt nonetheless. Some big injuries that have revealed here today. Significant ones. None bigger than Florida Panthers captain Sasha Barkov, who underwent knee surgery today. Now, the day started off knowing that Barkov's injury was serious. It was requiring surgery, and that's all we knew. But we just got an update this evening and a few hours ago. Barkov, they've said he's going to be out 7 to 9 months recovering from surgery for an injury to his ACL and his MCL. I honestly think they're being a little ambitious with this recovery. To be fair, we've seen a lot of other athletes go through these type of recoveries. It's rare you see somebody come back in under a year. So maybe they're being optimistic. I mean, they say they're going to be monitoring him and see where things goes. But here's the thing, though. If you're Florida, from a cap perspective, because now it's, they're dealing with this major blow to their team, and they have to look at it because the rules are different now with long-term injury reserve, right? As of last year, they could have said it don't matter. If Barkov can come back for the playoffs, that's great. But we're going to spend his money regardless in LTIR, and we're going to go find another big-time player to come in and replace him and do the best we can, and then he'll join us in the playoffs and we'll be even more stacked. Well, you can't do that anymore. So if he's going to be out for the season and not return for the playoffs, they can use his full cap hit and call it season-ending long-term injury reserve. But if he is going to have a shot at coming back from the playoffs, then they only get what they call league average salary, which is $3.8 million in cap relief. So then, of course, when you get to the playoffs, your game-by-game roster has to be cap compliant. So I don't know. To be honest, I don't think it's a good likelihood at all that he comes back for the playoffs. But it's fair to say his regular season is not going to happen. 7 months puts us basically, I think it would end up being like pretty much right at the end of the regular season, maybe with a couple games to go. 9 months puts you basically into June. Season's over, even if you go deep in the finals. So I don't think that the odds are favorable at all that we see Barkov at all in the regular season. And like I said, if they're going to have any chance to try to find a way to make up for this loss, they're going to need his full cap hit. I mean, they're already going to be missing Matthew Tkachuk for the first 3 to 4 months of the season. Like, that's two massive pieces in that roster that they're going to be going for a three-peat. But like I've said before, though, like, I don't care. Like, I know this team is good, and if everything were to go right and health-wise and everything, they could possibly three-peat. It wouldn't be shocking. But this team has played 3 consecutive long seasons. They went to the finals and they lost. They won the cup. That's a lot of hockey in 3 years. Short off seasons, not a lot of recovery period. That's hard on your body. Really hard on your body. So ultimately, like, you knew eventually stuff like this was probably, like, they're going to be more prone for injury. It's just the nature of pro sports. So it's unfortunate, but it's tough to recover from. So we'll see what happens with Barkov. I mean, they can go about this and say, okay, you know what, we're going to try to get through the regular season as best we can. We know that the Panthers probably don't care where they're at as long as they're in a playoff spot. And then they'll reevaluate, maybe see how they're doing. Maybe they try to go a while and then hope that maybe he can come back, because if they don't want to, once they spend his money, if they use the full amount, he's not coming back. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, ultimately, I believe that they don't have a first-round pick this year either. So if they were to have things go sideways on them and they would lose, let's say they miss out on the playoffs and this pick is higher, that could be problematic as well. So there's never a good time for this ever, but it's just devastating news. The Panthers are kind of decimated now in their top 6 with 2 massive players. At least Tkachuk will be back. The other big part of this that sucks for Barkov and Team Finland is he's not going to be able to play in the Olympics now, and he's a huge part of that roster as well. So you can't replace Barkov. You just can't. He's one of the top players in the game. He's a unique player as well. I mean, you can try. You can find other good, decent players to try to fill the gap if you can, but it's just not going to be the same. So we'll see how they do. Like I said, you can go about this in one way, and maybe you only use the $3.8 million, thinking, okay, maybe he comes back and he's, you can try to get through this and maybe he plays in the playoffs, or you see them say, you know what, it's probably not going to happen, and they use his full amount or whatever. But it's definitely some tough decisions ahead, and we're going to talk about the Panthers as well and some options that they could be looking at. I mean, I know the rumors have already started to swirl about what could they do now, right? And a couple of names that came up. One, the big one that I've seen a lot of people talking about was Malkin in Pittsburgh. After his comments, especially saying that, if he were to consider leaving, after what he saw with Marchand in Florida last year and winning a cup, we know that Malkin has a place in Florida. It might be the one place he might be most comfortable going to if he did leave Pittsburgh. Now, suddenly they've got a huge opening. It's a center spot. Is that going to be intriguing for Malkin and the Penguins to look at? I don't know. I mean, there's lots of... it makes sense, right? Is Malkin going to give you what Barkov gives you at this stage of his career? No, he's not. But he's a really good player. If he can stay healthy, he could be pretty productive with some high-end talent there, right? He could get a chance to play with Bennett and Verhaeghe and, Reinhart, these guys, right? It could be a good option. I know I've seen Islanders reporters talking about Jean-Gabriel Pageau. He's in the last year of his contract as well. He's not going to give you can't replace Barkov, like I said, but he is a decent two-way center, more so on the defensive side. It would add some depth for them. Pageau's probably going to be a player that gets a lot of attention anyway from different teams down the stretch. I suspect the Islanders likely move him, but we'll see. The Panthers got some tough news today, and they do have some interesting choices to consider on how they react to it. I suspect we're going to see them take the slow approach here before they make a big decision like that, but we will see. It's definitely going to be an interesting story to monitor moving forward. Now, speaking of some other injuries, though, the Montreal Canadiens young defender David Reinbacher, of course a high pick in the draft a couple of years ago, is going to be out 4 weeks with a broken finger. Seen a lot of Habs fans today kind of giving it the whole talk on social media, saying it's a time that we consider moving Reinbacher. I think he's been hurt a lot since he's been drafted, and I think some fans are starting to wonder. Some people just seem to be prone to injuries. I don't know what it is, but definitely some concerns. And then I also seen there's been one preseason game, and I know it's not everybody. I'm not trying to generalize and say all Habs fans are attacking him, but man, oh man, did I ever see a lot of hate towards Noah Dobson in his first preseason game, complaining about his lack of physicality, his lack of grit, lack of intensity. Defensive liability was used a lot as well. And you know what? That's kind of who he is. Unfortunately, he's a good player. Trust me, I've seen Noah Dobson play a ton. He played his junior hockey here in New Brunswick for Acadie Bathurst. I've seen him play a lot in junior. I've seen him play the World Juniors. I've seen him play in Long Island. He's from PEI. He's not super local to me, but local enough that I've seen him a lot since he was in his late teens. So, or mid-teens even. So I know a lot about this player, and he's good. He's very talented, but he is what he is. And there's a reason why the Islanders were willing to move him. And it's not so much that they were dead set on moving him, but when they entered contract extension negotiations, and when it got to the point that he was looking for $9+ million, they just didn't feel, I don't think, that how you have to live with some things to get the goodness, like with Erik Karlsson, for example. You have to live with some of those things you don't like to get the offense. That's kind of what Dobson is like. He's not intense. He's not physical. He's big. He should be, but he's not. But he is very talented with the puck offensively. But has he turned out to be the defenseman I thought he was going to be? Not exactly. But he's still young. He can still get better. He's still in his prime years. There's lots to like. I just say, listen, it's one preseason game. I think everybody should kind of pump the brakes and see. But I have concerns already after one preseason game that he could be their new whipping boy, because most fan bases, especially in the big markets, tend to have those players that the fan bases just love to give it to. And he could be that guy. I just feel bad for him already. One game and it's already getting it from the crowd. But Reinbacher, definitely concerning nonetheless. I've seen some people saying they should trade him, but what's his value at right now? That's probably not worth it. It's probably, you're going to have to trade a lot lower than you would like. And I still think his upside long term, is good. if he can just stay healthy. It's not so much a skill issue as it is a health issue. So we'll see where things go. But some interesting commentary on social media regarding those two Habs defenders here today after the not so good loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who had not exactly their top lineup in order. I mean, I've seen a lot of fan bases like to give it to each other. I've seen, when Ottawa lost to Toronto and Toronto had the weaker lineup, and, Montreal and Toronto fans giving it to Ottawa. And then the exact opposite happened when Ottawa and Toronto played again in Toronto. Ottawa had the weaker lineup. Toronto had the stronger one, and then Toronto lost. So then it's, give it to them. And then Montreal making fun of both. And now they've lost to Toronto where they should have beat them. They had all their top guys, or most of them. Anyways, it's just like the preseason, it doesn't mean anything. And these guys are trying just to get their reps in, get their timing down, not get hurt. It's just, you can't really take it for what it's worth. Nobody's really got their full team out there, but it's just the banter going back and forth already. You can tell how passionate all the cities are in their fan bases, because even these little preseason games with varying rosters kind of brings out the chirping and everybody there. Another injury update as well. Penguins' young goaltender Joel Blomqvist is going to be out for about a month with a lower body injury. So their goaltending depth is definitely impacted as well. A few updates from Jason Gregor on the Oilers. He thinks Mattias Ekholm, who will be likely, him and Jake Wallman are two other players besides McDavid that they're working on extensions for. We've heard Wallman's likely going to go long term, that they're getting closer, but Ekholm, he feels, is probably going to take a 2-year deal, and it's probably going to be a bit of a haircut on the AAV. Thinks that he'll sign somewhere around $4.5 million or so. So that would be very helpful for the Oilers if he can still play at a high level and give them that kind of contract. That'd be great. And he again chimes in on McDavid, like we've heard from like Elliott and others lately, saying that, you know what, he's going to probably take less than what everybody thinks. Gregor thinks a 2-year deal around $14 million. Like he might sign pretty close to what Leon is taking. So again, that would be extremely helpful for making this team even more competitive. So we will see what happens, but that's the latest there. In Toronto, Darren Dreger's reporting that contract talks with goalie Anthony Stolarz is still ongoing, hoping to get something done before the season starts. The team apparently is pretty comfortable with a 3-year term. It sounds like the agent for Stolarz might be pushing for more, and that they might have to go to 4 to get it done. Probably looking at an AAV of around $4.5 million as well on Stolarz. I mean, for him to get 4 times 4.5, that would definitely be, the biggest contract he's had, right? So, he's looking to cash in and get some term and some security here, and I don't blame him. At his age, after what he's been through, he's played well the last couple of years, but that's might be what the Leafs have to go to lock him up. Kevin Weeks is reporting as well that another goalie in Caps training camp, Clay Stevenson, has been quite impressive, getting a lot of attention from other teams, not starting to notice this, and that Clay Stevenson could be a goalie that's looked upon as being a nice trade or waiver pickup. Obviously, Stevenson's going to have to hit the waiver wire to go to the American Hockey League. He's, at best going to be the number 3. He's not going to get ahead of Thompson or Lindgren in the Caps organization. So teams are kind of watching him as being one of the better goalies that they maybe consider picking up on waivers, or if the Capitals want to get ahead of it to try to make a trade. So, I think Washington would rather keep him. So not to say for sure that they're going to move him, but they have to know at this point that if they try putting him through waivers, that there's a pretty good likelihood that he gets picked up. So Clay Stevenson is a name to watch in the goalie market, possibly changing franchises here. We'll see. Some updates on the Kirill Kaprizov contract situation from Michael Russo. He says that basically, for one thing, that he kind of chimes on what Elliotte Friedman had to say, that they are definitely concerned about tampering. Elliott had said the other day on his, I think it was on the Sportsnet fan radio show or podcast slash TV show, that he believes that there's some tampering going on behind the scenes with Kaprizov, but he can't prove it. Russo kind of reiterates that the Wild are concerned about this as well. So that tells you something. But they definitely, he says, are not going to negotiate against themselves. And the one thing that he has a pretty good sense on is that they don't seem to be inclined to keep up in the ante here and offering him more and more. Like Elliott said as well, he doesn't think that the Wild are necessarily going to go back to him and be like, okay, $16 million a year for 8 years wasn't enough. Here's more. they don't have any reason to think right now that he should be talking to other teams or that there should be other offers that they're really worried about. And you would think offering him the richest contract in franchise history and NHL history, if he wants to stay, should be sufficient. So they definitely have some concerns, and it doesn't sound like they're really going to be pushing too hard to offer more than what they already have. So again, with all the tampering stuff, you have to think that there's, unfortunately, I'm not sure that this ends well for Minnesota, and it's concerning for sure, where he's clearly, arguably the most dynamic player the team has had. So certainly lots to look for with Kaprizov there, as I mentioned. So obviously lots to keep an eye on here moving forward in the coming days. How does Florida react to the Barkov injury? Like I said, the Montreal Canadiens, I know, I don't think they're going to be doing anything with Reinbacher, to be honest. He needs to stay healthy. So lots there, and then some McDavid and Kaprizov, and obviously lots of other stuff going around in the league. The Oilers will be fascinating to watch, but there's still something I think McDavid will sign before the season starts, and I hope for their sake it does. Otherwise, I don't see how it's not a distraction. But a busy, interesting day in the world of hockey. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's topics in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.